In June 2018, an apocalyptic dust storm, 4 times the size of North America, swallowed the entire planet of Mars, blinding humanity's most resilient robot in absolute pitch-black darkness. Before its battery flatlined forever, it transmitted one last visual code, a photograph where half the world had literally vanished into void. Hit that follow button right now if you love exploring the deepest, most unbelievable true mysteries of our universe. Picture this. You are standing on a cold, silent desert world, 140 million miles away from home. There is no ocean, no trees, no breath of air to keep you alive. Just endless, crimson dust rolling beneath a pale, tiny sun. And on this alien frontier, a solar-powered, golf cart-sized rover named Opportunity, we affectionately called her Oppy, was doing something nobody on Earth ever dreamed possible. You see, back in 2004, when NASA engineers dropped Opportunity onto the surface of Mars, they didn't expect a legend. They expected a 90-day experiment. 90 Martian days, what scientists call souls. They told the public, look, if this little machine can survive 3 months and roll across 600 meters of soil, the mission is a complete success. 90 days? Oppy took that 90-day lifespan and laughed in the face of planetary science. Instead of 3 months, Opportunity survived for 14.5 years. Instead of 600 meters, she drove over 45 kilometers, 28 miles across treacherous crater rims and alien dunes, setting the absolute record for the longest distance ever driven on another world. She fought off jammed wheels, failing heaters, memory glitches, and freezing night temperatures that dropped lower than 100 degrees below zero. Every single day was a gift. Every sunrise was a defiance of death, until June of 2018. Deep in the southern hemisphere of Mars, a tiny plume of dust rose into the thin atmosphere. On Earth, a dust storm is annoying. It might coat your windshield or force you inside for an afternoon. But on Mars, a dust storm is a planetary monster. Within days, that small disturbance swelled. It absorbed solar heat, driving warmer air upward, which pulled millions of tons of fine rust particles into the sky. The storm expanded from 18 million square kilometers to 35 million, covering a full quarter of the planet. By June 13th, it was no longer a local storm. It had become a planet-encircling tempest, an atmospheric shroud so thick it wrapped the entire globe of Mars in a suffocating wall of brown sand. Now, here is the cruel part. NASA had another rover on Mars at the exact same time. Curiosity. Curiosity didn't care about the storm. Why? Because Curiosity was powered by a nuclear generator, a chunk of decaying plutonium sitting in its tail. It kept rolling, snapping pictures right through the gloom. But Opportunity? Oppy was solar-powered. She depended entirely on those black photovoltaic wings spread across her deck to harvest sunlight and trickle-charge her lithium-ion batteries. And the sky above Perseverance Valley was choking out the sun. Scientists measure the thickness of dust in the Martian sky using a unit called tau atmospheric opacity. On a normal, clear Martian day, tau is around 0.5. That's bright, crisp sunlight, enough to pump nearly 900 watt-hours of electricity into Oppy's system every single day. By June 5th, tau rose to 2. By June 8th, tau hit 10.8. 10.8. That wasn't just a shadow. That was a total cosmic blackout. More than 99.99% of all sunlight was blocked before it could ever touch the ground. Imagine standing outside on Earth at midday, and suddenly the sun vanishes as if someone flipped a master light switch, plunging the world into a midnight darker than any cave. Oppy was parked near the edge of Perseverance Valley, on the rim of the massive Endeavour crater. She was tilted slightly, her metallic chassis shivering as the atmospheric pressure shifted around her. Her main computer realized what was happening. Power levels were collapsing rapidly. The battery voltage was plummeting toward 24 volts. If the voltage fell below that critical threshold, a low-power fault code would trigger automatically. The computer would shut down every instrument on board. It would cut power to the mechanical arm, turn off the science cameras, and go into deep hibernation. Only one thing would stay running, a tiny internal mission clock. Every so often, that clock would wake the master processor for a fraction of a second to ask a single question. Is there enough light to wake up? If the answer was no, it fell right back to sleep. But before Opportunity succumbed to the dark, her team at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena gave her one final set of commands. Capture what you see. Between May 13th and June 10th, 2018, Opportunity raised her panoramic camera, the PanCam, perched high on her mast like a pair of human eyes. She began panning 360 degrees around her resting place in Perseverance Valley. She took snapshot after snapshot, 354 individual exposures in total. Look closely at what she sent back. In the upper portion of that final panorama, you can see the distant rim of Endeavour Crater, rising like a quiet ghost against the horizon. You can see her own rover tracks, the geometric tread marks left in the Martian soil, weaving down from over the ridge, marking the exact path she traveled to reach her final resting place. You see pristine, unexplored ground, geological features that human scientists had spent years studying from orbit, finally captured in high resolution from the ground. But then, look at the bottom left corner of that image. If you examine the final panorama released by NASA, most of the picture is rendered in full, rich, golden Martian color, captured through red, green, and violet optical filters. But the bottom left frames are stripped of all color. They are raw, stark, black and white. Why? Because as Opportunity was taking those final frames, the solar energy died mid-transmission. She had enough remaining power to capture the physical landscape, but before her system could rotate the green and violet filters into place, to complete the full color process, the sky went completely pitch dark. Her power collapsed. She was literally bleeding out energy while snapping her farewell photograph. Those black and white frames are the exact physical record of a machine losing its consciousness. Now, you might have heard the famous viral line that broke internet hearts around the world. My battery is low, and it's getting dark. People imagined Oppy sitting alone on Mars, feeling afraid, whispering a final sentence back to NASA. Here is the true, hidden reality. Opportunity didn't speak English. She didn't feel fear. She was a brilliant assembly of titanium, aluminum, and silicon. That famous phrase was actually a poetic translation crafted by a science journalist, summarizing the raw telemetry data Oppy sent back on June 10, 2018. Her actual final message was a series of binary data packets. It reported two precise numbers. Atmospheric opacity was at record high levels, and battery energy was flatlining. Yet, when you look at what those numbers meant, my battery is low and it's getting dark wasn't a lie. It was the most human translation of a cold cosmic truth ever written. On June 10, 2018, at exactly 15:45 UTC, the Deep Space Network lost Opportunity's radio beacon, Silence. Back on Earth, inside the control room at JPL, scientists didn't panic immediately. They had been through dust storms before. In 2007, a massive storm had threatened Spirit and Opportunity, but both rovers had hunkered down and survived. They assumed that once the storm cleared in a month or two, sunlight would hit Oppy's solar panels, the internal clock would wake her up, and her radio antenna would ping Earth once again. So they waited. By August, the global dust storm began to abate. By September, the sky over Endeavour Crater cleared up. NASA turned on their giant radio dishes in California, Madrid, and Canberra. They began beaming signals into the Martian sky. Opportunity. This is Earth. Do you read us? Nothing. Every single night, engineers in California sent recovery commands. Over 835 recovery beams were aimed across the void of space. They even programmed the deep space transmitters to play wake-up songs every morning, a heartwarming JPL tradition. They played Here Comes the Sun by the Beatles. They played I Will Survive by Gloria Gaynor. They played Rocket Man by Elton John. They beamed those songs into the cold silence of Perseverance Valley, hoping that somewhere on that dusty red plain, a small mechanical ear would hear them day after day. Week after week, month after month, over 1,000 signals sent, 1,000 unanswered calls. Scientists realized what had likely happened. Without solar power, Oppy's survival heaters had turned off. For months, the rover had sat in sub-zero temperatures lower than -90 degrees Celsius. The extreme freeze had likely damaged critical electronic connections on her motherboard, or worse, A thick blanket of heavy Martian dust had settled directly over her solar panels, physically burying the cells so sunlight could never reach them again. On February 12, 2019, NASA decided to send one last transmission. The team at JPL gathered in the mission control room. Engineers who had spent their entire adult lives working on Opportunity, people who started as fresh college graduates and were now middle-aged parents, sat shoulder to shoulder in complete silence. For their final transmission, they played a song by Billie Holiday, "I'll Be Seeing You." The signal crossed 140 million miles of empty space. The timer ticked down. No reply came back. On February 13, 2019, NASA officially declared mission complete. Opportunity was designed to run for 90 days and drive 600 meters. She stayed alive for 5,111 days and drove over 45 kilometers. She showed us that Mars was once a world of rolling liquid lakes and neutral pH water, where microscopic life could have thrived. Her final sacrifice during that 2018 storm allowed atmospheric satellites to discover how Mars is actively losing its water into deep space today. A discovery that reshaped our entire understanding of how planets die. Right now, as you listen to my voice, Opportunity is still sitting in Perseverance Valley. Her metal joints are frozen. A fine layer of red Martian dust covers her solar wings. Her camera is forever pointed toward the floor of Endeavour crater, waiting in silence. When future human astronauts finally land on Mars, walk into Perseverance Valley, and stand beside Opportunity's frozen chassis, what single message do you think humanity should engrave on her memorial plaque? Visual prompts.